Good evening, good afternoon, good day to our listeners. Today we don't come back to with a special program on viewers TV. And today everybody we're in a transport. But before I start, I would like to inform viewers and say because I'm not saying I all they look forward to joining I will start because one start on time. And I will be joined by my senior co-host, Mr. Shyllon. And we will also expect my other co-host, Mr. Jallo Jamboria. So as usual, before we start the program, I will tell Alma Adu, Bondesi Awanae, Fumaminu Impiari, Jarama, Wali Benda. We fumbled that we don't come back. And now, we want telling how we go reach we as usual. Because we get Bokuwewe in the contact on this program. We know say this program here, a program where a lot of people and they look forward to from Salone. We go advice enough for we on the viewers number, when at the WhatsApp number, where you can use them anywhere you did. Whether you did North America, you did Canada, you did Australia, you did Salone, you did UK, you did Europe, and that WhatsApp number then a +1 343 997 5828 +1 343 997 5828. Then we get with viewers radio na Freedom, where na 91.9 FM. Mostly they serve the people in the eastern area. And you can get her also through the app. Then you can download the Viewers TV mobile app. And you will get all lengths from the Google Play Store or Apple Play Store. So in a get Bokuwe where in a go able get we. And we hope say this conversation today, nothing where we want for continue for contact with. So we get other channels the way na go meet we. Now YouTube very important. YouTube you go get we on Viewers Television. Facebook also you go get we on Viewers. Then we get X when I been Twitter. We can get we on VOS Television as well. Then of course you go able to get we on our website, Viewers TV website. We're at www.vostelevision.com. Contact with it. We're at www.vosradio.com. So all the Google Play Store and Apple, go down and download the Viewers Television app. And Twitch TV, Viewers TV. Because when you get with app, we get so many other good things that we get able access to. Continuous news development na the country, other viewers program, apart from this weekly program where we do social media review. Then of course, we viewers handle. So today, we want come now, the two are very important things. We want to talk about public transport. Public transport, they affect everybody in our country. Whether you na mama where they go market, if they go work, picking the way they go school, if you want go hospital, if you want go na government buildings, then you need public transport. If you want to come up from one side to the other of the country, or within the free tongue as well, you need public transport. And the cost of public transport, the convenience, the safety, and everything, they affect people then. But Sierra Leone, as we can say, we don't always be first in everything. So today, if you look at the topic, it's very appropriate. In English, we say Unmasking Sierra Leone's public transport crisis and the way forward, from railway to Kekehs. So we want taking through several periods of public transport development, na Salone, and the challenges. But then at the end of the day, we go also provide solutions, the way forward. We go look at the pre-independence era, that was before 1960. We go look at independence, where we set up the Sierra Leone Road Transport Corporation. We go look at the Republic era, when at that time we get rid of the railway. And we get historical fact about why the railway we get rid of the railway. Then we go look at the war era, when have been big challenge for public transport. And waiting down the cause, we see mass movement of people. People that will move from the provinces down to the western region, where we get population explosion. We're then a big challenge for public transport in terms of population density, urbanization, creation of new settlements. We all need public transport to access different parts. Then the next area we'll go look at, now the post war era, when President Kaba in term, when the rehabilitation era, when at that time we see new forms of public transport come, the Kekehs era. Because remember, we talk from the railways and the buses to the Kekehs era. Then we look at stabilization, what thing happened during the Kuruma era. Then, of course, finally, the Bio era, which we were fine. So, now long history. And what we discuss on today, we go show in our video evidence and picture evidence, let us understand. Let then in our mind for see what we talk about. So let's start first with the before independence in 1960. What we been get as public transport na Salone. Let's show you this short clip, then I go explain and train her.
Amazing history info that you didn't know that Sierra Leone was the first country in West Africa to be using double-decker buses as transportation before independence 1960.
This picture here, we'll just show you in this short clip. Now, Frobe Road, because now when we mom in there before we get independent 1961, whose form of public transport we been get? The Wetman then give with that double-decker bus. When a free tongue it been run. So that double-decker bus there, now you get bus ticket where you go buy. Now they run all over Freetown. And also now they serve part of the outskirts. That time the population of Freetown, in a member, now been 250,000 people there. The roads them been clear. Then we get the railway, no, not forget about the railway. Because Sierra Leone also, now the first country in West Africa, forget a railway, we get a railway in 1896. And that year they will get railway, we been get railway as a main form of public transport. So before independence, the two forms of transport we been get buses, then double-decker bus them, when I land them from England, the same like England. We been get railway, where now like the same like railway in England, where because Salone are the first speaking for the Englishman them now West Africa. So let's show you now how railway been run. We will get two services then. We will get what we call the urban and peri-urban service. And all of them service then the main part where them in the start. Now the central bus station, we now at the central bus station. Where then a place where they call Water Street at the time. That now near the present SLPTA party office, headquarters, and near the town hall. So that central railway station there, we been get railway where they run to the east. Where in the left central railway station, the first stop where they stop now Dovecot. But that railway they will be get now been for both passenger and goods, mostly agricultural products them, consumer goods them, because it been they serve we for going to the interior. So the urban railway service will be get It is start from the central railway station there. It stop na Dovecot. It stop na Kleintown because that na for link with the port. Because we get the port done Wataki. Then after Kleintown now, it come up. It stop na Kekehs. Then people like where they go high school, na then have been the team where they high school boy them in the bluff because they when they go high school, na them in the take train go school. They were privileged. From Kekehs now, it continue. It stop na Wellington area, right? Then the next stop where it na Hastings. There again, it connect. You can get the airfield like Hastings. Then it go Jallo, then it go Songo. Then we get the National Rail Service, where again itself in the start from that same area there. Take this same route where I tell you. Say go Songo. Then from Songo now, it go to what they call Moyamba Junction. Now Moyamba Junction, it is split. Where one part where they go south, now I mean they cover the area like Boye, Rotifung, go Pendembu, all the way to the east. Then you get the northern flank where they go take Kabbalah. So you see, this was, now then you go call mass transit system. This was what we have in Sierra Leone. And now that system though we get, it been served with the time. And it was well planned. And then, what happened after that? Then Salone get independence 1961. What gets independence 1961? The significant thing will happen. Then boss then they will have been tell you so. They been run by the Salone road transport department when I been Kisi Road. And they run the bus them. The bus them get bus conductors them. Then get that ticket machine. Later on we develop. We will be go school. We get school voucher. It been help our school bus system. The railway you been get Salone railway. Where now we call loco. What you know we call it loco because we take them from the Whitman word what they call the engine them locomotive engine. Because then train then they were coal fired. You know? So now the locomotive engine then now been used. So when independence come, Salone government say, okay, the railway been on the see a lot of problem. Why? Because number one, the gauge been very small. Then we get energy crisis for the fuel when a coal now import to get for importer. Then also there was a lot of accidents. So that we not reach the time for let we review the railway. In preparation for that, the government established the Salone Road Transport Corporation in 1964. Road Transport Corporation now been the first what you call state-owned enterprise. Road Transport Corporation was now given the mandate for regulate public transport in the country. Now the first and then where we regulate public transport in the country. And now Road Transport Corporation, now they been set the fares. Now they also been set the routes them, then they determine the routes them who will get. And also now they been regulate public transport and also freight transport because now they been set rates for then lorry them and everything. So now big step. And post-independence, now, what it happen, we start to see other forms of public transport that will come. Where na taxi, and later we get puda. So that taxi there and puda them, then they begin develop small. And the taxi will be getting days and day. If you remember, we get a Renault 4 taxi there. That taxi where the gear like liver. We get beaucoup of them taxi then day. And then there's a taxi in a friton. Not to like now. Taxi na been for hire, na individual. In fact, we will get the system so organized that you can then host, you ready for commode, you call somebody, like go pick away for you. Front you host, it check you go na your destination. Not to now like where taxi will get, the taxi they will get and they run with Puda. And surprisingly enough, I'll camp on that later on. We taxi them na Salone, then they run like Puda. So that was the era of taxi. Then we begin get, because the bus company not be able to cover all the area then they, and the double-decker buses themselves will get, not to all the roads there, now the main roads there when they cover, the government decides say, Road Transport Corporation for bring new buses there. So at the time, the Minister of Transport at the time, between 70 and 75, now be Honorable Sembu Fona. Let's see the bus there where he bring come. Let's look at them first bus there where we come off from the double-decker to the Mercedes-Benz buses there. Let's show people, fumble them, the bus them. So you see them bus there where them bring come. They may run all over Freetown. Not only that, they may run now the peninsula, you can get bus the way they go to York, you know, the current peninsula, you get bus the way they go Regent, now the mountain region, you get bus the way they go upline. Now, you also get the bus that you see this is a private, you can hire them. So this was the first time where we get a planned bus transport system na Salone. So what happened? The ministry that time then decide say before they bring them bus here, right? Then send 20 of we Salone people and go Stuttgart in Germany for let them go undertake mechanical and electrical training on the bus system. One of the mechanic they will be get, according to my research I do, they get one man where they call Momo Benz, where be the Sackville Street garage. Then they get 3 German engineers. We also come, they assign to the road transport department for supervise their operation. Then the German government also provide 5-year warranty for them bus here. And senior official in the Ministry of Communication, they mean take them, go on a conductor tour, na Masaka. So you see, we plan the bus system. 1, we procure bus them, we come. 2, the company train Sierra Leone mechanic them. They open the first bus maintenance workshop. And we get proper bus service. So at that same time, the Germans them also be helped with, because at that time now we begin build roads. That was the preparation. Next is important public transport we been get. Now been the railway transport, where the government decide for close the railway. And beaucoup time people let me not talk say this man when a SLJ Pratt when I been the minister, then say I lock the railway. But as God could have it, Lord hear it in your own version, because they provide this here for history. Lord hear it in your own version, waiting to enroll during the railway. Don't go talk about that. So if we control room can show that video there, let people and see and hear what you say. Control room, yeah.
At the end of cabinet, the president said, Jallo, will you please see me in my office? I said, oh yes, Shakiam, I'll be coming. We generally have, just like you have refreshments here after church, we had these refreshments. And I went, called my colleagues, some of them shunned me. I didn't know what was happening. And when I went to see Shaki, the president, he said, so you would have heard that I am making a mini reshuffle. I said, yes, Shaki, I heard that. Where are you sending me? Thinking that he was removing me from Ministry of Development to another ministry. And he said, so nowhere you are out of the cabinet. I was shocked. I said, do you really mean that, Shaki? He said, yes. I said, why? He said, what now? Not forget, in your interest and in the interest of the country, you should not be a cabinet minister. I said, repeat. He repeated, in your interest and in the interest of the country, you should not be a cabinet minister. I said, I understand, Shaki. And we had a few chats, and I jumped into my car. Once I was going down by the cotton tree, there were the news vendors with the SLPTA newspaper. It was called Unity. Bold headlines. And the fellow was shouting, Jolly Boy out! Jolly Boy out! It had been published that I had been sacked from cabinet. And I was only told that about half an hour previously by the president in his office. Now we come to the railway. Why was I sacked? There was a chap who you would know about called Mohammed. He was a financier, a Lebanese, or half Lebanese, half Sierra Leone. And at the time, he had gone round Shaka Stevens and members of the cabinet, apart from the fact that I was considered persona non grata, a spy from the SLPTA, as some of them termed me. They had agreed to close down the railway. They said if Salone is a member of cabinet, this would never happen. He had made terms of what he would give them and that type of thing. And that he was going to get all the scrap sold, you will be surprised, for $8 million. The money which I wanted to do the first phase. And that was the reason why Shaka Stevens said, it is in your interest and the interest of the country that you should not be a member of cabinet. After I was sacked, that was the time with Norman. He is still alive. He is in London. He was acting general manager. That was the time they stopped the railway. Mohammed was the general auctioneer, sold what they could, gave the ministers and Shaka Stevens what they promised, and the railway ceased to exist. I was not in cabinet. I did not even see the papers. They kept everything about the closure of the railway until they were sure that I was not in cabinet. Because had I been in cabinet, I would have raised hell. And when I say I raised hell in cabinet, not even the president would stop me. It would have been calamitous, because I would have made it not a national issue, but an international issue, and they knew that. And they wanted to silence me. So they made quite certain that I was out of cabinet when they took the decision to close the railway quickly and to dispose of the assets. So,
well, Fambulem Yagi from the horse's mouth. This na Jolly Boy Pratt, S.J. Pratt, a renowned lawyer, a man who served in several cabinet positions we tell we why they close the railway, and the decision we then take, nothing we then take them, not because of the interest of the country, but because of other interests. That is what, because yeah, we do evidence-based. But before I go any further, now welcome my senior man, when Mr. Shyllon, we don't come, and he said we work much on this small because he grew up in the area, where they use the railway, and he go talk a lot about how useful the railway was to us as a public means of transport, not just for within Freetown, and also for going to the provinces. And as somebody will live and use the railway, Mr. Shyllon, now give family your account. And what in I view, the closure of the railway, is it something that we are now suffering in terms of the problem of access to public transport and some of the demise of production areas in Sierra Leone? So what you get for talk on this talk here, Mr. Shyllon?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mengot. And I'm sorry to mislead them, we audience, for my lateness. It was unavoidable. I catch the video of Dr. Pratt, Dr. Solomon Pratt, na partial part of Yeri, but even with Yeri, I don't think he's free of criticism, if that's what you would call it, in the sense that those were mentors. Dr. Pratt, the one in there, and anyone who knew him knew he was not only highly educated, but he was a very gifted man in many ways. You know, he was even a musician. In fact, he has a very interesting story. At what age he went to Frabe College, till he ended up overseas, and how he had a lot of degrees. So by no stretch of the imagination, one would think Dr. Pratt didn't have what it took to be in the cabinet or to advise government. He had all of it. But to me, listening to her, the problem where I get, number one, and if I missed something, Mr. Mengot, since I was in here for the beginning, you probably could correct me. He talked about how the railway was dismantled, but not talk about why it was dismantled. Because to me, the why has to be economically based. It's either was not useful because it just doesn't have to be profitable, because in most countries that have railways governed or run by government, these transportation are subsidized by the government. So we know, say, the railway and the government beget not to be privately run enterprise. So assuming that even the reason was that it was not doing well economically, and Dr. Pratt had a degree in economics. In fact, he was an economist. One would have thought the first recommendation, the order of business would have been to subsidize the railway because of the usefulness of it. Now the country. Now, so now even when he was, well, I also did not see, because he said Dr. Pashaki say in Dr. Pratt's personal interest and the interest of the country, which I find to be a very ridiculous statement from Shaka Stephen. Now, listening to the video again, I don't see how it was Dr. Pratt being put out of the cabinet was in his personal interest. I don't see it. And I definitely don't see how it was in the interest of the country. Now, it may have been in the interest of Shaka Stephen and in clique, headed by Said and Jamil Mohammed, where he mentioned. Now, it might have been in the interest of those things. So I think that was a wrongly phrased thing Shaka Stephen tell him anyway. Because I don't see, based upon the explanation where he don't give it so, how it was in his interest personally, and how was it in the interest. Maybe interest has to have an adjective before it. In the best interest, let me put the word best. How was that in the best or better interest or good interest of the country? I don't see it, not by listening to that video there. The other mild criticism I have of Dr. Pratt, because we have to be willing, with all due respect to we leaders them, we take after independence. And you think, in fact, this is another thing. Dr. Pratt, the time we ain't getting your credentials then, was a far more together, ethically put set of people than the current set they will get now. These were people of integrity. So the only problem I get with Dr. Pratt now is, assuming everything he says is correct, is true. Shaka Stephen, because he knew or they anticipate or they know wrongly or advise and say, Dr. Simon Pratt go raise hell. Therefore, not making part of the decision-making group for eradicate the railroad. They will assume, say, that's how, that was the... But when Dr. Pratt was fired, as he himself said, on his way home, there was a big headline, for say, Solo has been fired or has been, whatever, put out of the cabinet. I think, to me, in my own analysis, that gave him the room he needed to still raise his objection. I don't see how that could have stopped him from saying that was a bad decision. I don't think, as a matter of principle, how that should have stopped him. I know there was some risk. I mean, if that is part of the consideration, maybe there was a time when you oppose Stevens, you are risking your personal safety. But I cannot make up facts for Dr. Pratt. I have to deal with the facts as he present them. But if that was a consideration, and say he was going to keep quiet and was not going to raise the same hell with him there, in fact, he had more freedom to raise hell now that he was out of the cabinet. So if he failed to raise that hell then, I find it difficult to understand why he failed to do so. If these people were serving in the interest of the country, anyone who knows anything about railroad, you hardly see any country, a government-run railroad being eliminated or eradicated or getting rid of. And particularly in those days when we know we had terrible roads, we not get interconnecting roads then that were good. From Pendembo, where the train stopped, the train that was going from west, meaning from western area to eastern province, when I believe, I think it was roughly a 250-mile distance. It took about 18 to 20 hours for that train there to make that distance there. Because usually the train will leave Freetown Water Street about 6 o'clock in the morning, and may not arrive until about 9, 10 o'clock at night in Pendembo. From personal experience, the train was useful for a variety of reasons. Number one, with the Eastern Province, we include Shegbema, Kailau, Manoa, Kwendu, Biodu, Pendembu, Mobai, Daru, and on and on and on. These were agricultural, these were producing states, cacao, coffee, and cocoa. The main reliable means of transportation for get them children there, and the SLPTA then be the main agent, government agent, will they buy from the agents them, will be the buy from the local people them. So
you mean SLPMB?
SLPMB. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
SLPMB. So now, because that should have been the first thing. If we're going to eradicate the railway, now how do we get all the produce here transported to Freetown in large numbers? Now they did try to start giving a contract or subcontract trucks them. One of the main owner of then trucks and be J.C. Samuels. J.C. Samuels had over, at the very least, 50 lorries then, because for those of us who are up country, and up country for me means Salone, this is the Boye district, because I lived in Boye for 9 years. For every 5, what you would call lorry, for every 5 lorries will go by, 1 was the name Jesus Samuels, Jesus Samuels, Jesus Samuels. Now, but then I mean, that's why we have educated people. If the consideration was that these trucks were not, they would substitute or replace the train wagons them. Well, one train wagon, they take 4 times the quantity where a lorry go take. So I don't know what economic basis they had to have even felt that way, if they think or say the trucks them or the lorries them will take the place of the truck. But listening to Dr. Solomon Pratt talking again, it's clear that the intention was not listening to what he say, make them shaft them. Now, because the decision they were about to make was not for the country, not was in the interest of the country, not for the interest of the small group of people. Jamil Said Mohammed, for one of the younger generations, then, one I may not know, but for we were little older, we know the destructive role we play in Sierra Leone, both politically and economically. You know, it was a very successful diamond dealer at the country, but he started meddling with parliament, started somehow with politics, became a very close friend of President Stevens, and started attending. This is not just an ordinary businessman. Was being called in cabinet meetings. You know, I was making suggestions, and in suggestions then were by far superior to that of any recommendation that were being made. This is not Jamil Sayed the talk about, were being made by any cabinet member who had the qualification like Dr. Pratt, where then your knowledge be based upon experience and credentials. So the reality is it's been too long. We are guilty of, and let me just personally, because I lived in Penembu, because I grew up there, I always try to give people in my background. Me and a Freetown boy, Aberdeen, as for matter of specificity. Aberdeen I come out. I grew up in Campbell Street. I go Christchurch Elementary School, class 1 to class 2. I go Cathedral, na park before I go upline. Come my daddy with the do business. And my daddy decide say me and my brother they no want to with the dance behind there because you know picking identity they attract you. So you just figure wait and tell and say that what the way sit there can wait they be now. Now they go all the way to Eastern. So the part take we go upline. For which I'm very grateful because that upline education they will get from Kalam district and Boye district. And let me remind people, because every time one talks about Boye, one begins to think that you must have gone to Boye school. No, I did not go to Boye school. I did not go to CKC. I did not go to UCC. But I went to the best school, Nabo, which is Ahmadiyya Secondary School. That's arguable. I'm willing to argue anyone. During my time, we had the best staff of teachers in the entire country, let alone Boye. So I leave it at that. I used for ride the train from Boye to Penembu. From Penembu to Boye, not on a daily basis when school opened. So I'm very familiar with the train. And since we're in Penembu, we'll be there and we'll be in a main road, I saw the train almost every day. Okay, so I get a little bit of experience in terms of knowing the functions of the railroad. All right, so nobody will argue that the railroad was the eradication of them or the removal of them, not to be a devastating punch to the economy of a country. Nobody can argue that. So, as Mr. Mengot presenter, now that was the beginning of the downward spiral. Because when we beget SLPMB, when we beget the railroad, there was a lot of activities for the younger ones then. During the time we used to have, Kenema district became very important. And Connaught district was very important for the diamonds. Kenema was important for agriculture. There was agriculture show, what we call cacao show. Hundreds, if not thousands of people will leave Freetown and go to Kenema for few days to attend the cacao show. There was a lot of attraction about the cacao show. We had another major industry called forest industry, because they make wood, they make furniture, top class furniture. In fact, forestry industry was such that if you can afford forest industry furniture, then you have arrived, because only successful people were able to buy forest industry furniture. That was the quality of furniture that they produce. And forest industry, they hire some of we newly grad engineers them from the university, as well as experienced engineers who were around. So there was a lot going for the country. How did we get here? I think Mr. Mengot will tell we, but when we take over, and I always like for equate or use for purposes of illustration, anybody who go watch sports, the manner or the method of running a relay, when you get the baton, a lot of time there's a lot of consideration. Who starts the relay? Who ends it? Usually the two people who are the fastest runners within the team, for beginner and for ender. Okay, so to me, it looked like now the same principle applies now. If we were going to eradicate the railway, I think, if nothing else, the government owe the duty to the country for tell we why the railway was being eradicated. Now, what I'm interested in, or which Dr. Pratt in tape also left out, was waiting, since Jamil Said na be the auctioneer, waiting na be the railroad an asset. How much? I think there's something, I think at the year about 8 million, but I don't know whether that was the asset. And 8 million to me, because the railroad, what people do not understand, there were several railroad stations between Freetown and Pendembu. There were at least 15 railroad stations then, now between Freetown and Pendembu, and they had permanent employees, station master, assistant station master, porters, and so on and so forth. These people were supposedly working for the government. So how many people were employed, and how many of them were replaced and placed in new jobs? And so what will be the employment figure for the railroad? We don't know. But people were being put out of their job. Then it just seems to me how you go get a man like Jamil Said, whom everyone know, or we will be know, and we know say, go what we can call better school. Jamil Said was a long distance truck driver from Kabbalah to Kono. Somehow he got lucky, he got rich, he moved from being a long distance driver from Kabbalah to Kono to a diamond dealer and became very, very, very successful. But me not know of Said and Jamil Said having any degree of education within a cabinet meeting for be able to suggest, and again I stand corrected, maybe he went to Oxford or Cambridge, or maybe because during Jamil Said in time, Jallo was just starting, Frabe College existed, but I don't know of any educational background to the level of him even being given any kind of economic advice to even a group of students, let alone a country. But so the railroad was very important. I think Mr. Mengot explained all of that to you in a nutshell. Me just tell you now how I personally benefited and how the railroad make my life much easier. And I may have been going back and forth from Pendembu to Boye, but that would have been extremely difficult. So during this era, in the 1960s, when you take a lorry from Boye to Freetown, that was a whole day's trip. From Boye to Freetown, I think took about 10 to 13 hours in those days. So let me stop there. Because I always get a lot for saying then things there, but let pass on over to Mr. Mengot.
Anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Shyllon. You don't give me perspective. We don't talk about the railway. But family, for this transport will continue. But for just this government, we know say recently, they go pass a bill in the parliament where they call the Salone Railway Regulatory Authority Bill. So sometimes they get something where they want to bring railway back, but not for this conversation. But just as a gist where Mr. Shyllon talk about this railway thing, it's very important. If you remember, so we get one saying, this now 2 hours left for farm bullet. Then they will sabi Creole. They go no, because Creole they like pull int. We get one to and say, Kaki no do for station master. Potter say one way long banks. I will left a line and go with comment. Because that is the hierarchy in Sierra Leone those days. Because the station master, now you know what we do long trusses. The porter get forget short trusses. So you will get various career. So they close the railway. That's fine. And we don't get the history. Look into modern day now, where the transport crisis coincide. Because that's what we want to talk about. Because if you look at the topic, we say unmasking Sierra Leone's public transport crisis from railway to Kekehs. So we don't talk about the railway era. Now, as that railway, when they set up road corporation, as I say in 1964, we get new buses the road don't show you now. Taxi they don't begin come. Puda they don't begin come. And Puda and mini bus system. New suburbs and people they don't begin move. Diversification. Get people and begin move to the Wellington area. By the way, we are still expressing call. Let us make a 1 or 2 person show. From what you don't tell us, so you are still wishing to join us in the conversation. The lines are opening. So we get that area there. We don't can't we go through the 80s. We go through the 80s, then all of a sudden, we can get crisis. We get that crisis there. That was when we get the Civil War. Or we go call that insurrection. Right? Like where China will say things fall apart and the center cannot hold. Everything crash. More than they create and go say the system bafuka. So we get chaos. So during that era there, what thing they bring? Because they talk about public transport. It bring after the war years, right? President Kaba try to do a lot of things. So from Road Transport Corporation we get in 1996, Airport Authority. Okay, let's read it. Imagine what opportunities the rail service can bring to Sierra Leone economy instead of the white elephant Lunge Bridge. That is another thing. Thank you for your comments. And then we'll get for examine that later. So as we talk about this whole thing, about this post-war era, two things happen. Because when they talk about transport, you get to talk about the people and way, not just the public transport itself. You get to talk about the roads, the way they operate. Because what was created during President Kaba era, then create the Sierra Leone Road Transport Authority, when a regulatory body in 1996, when I don't turn Road Safety Authority now. So then we get all the powers for regulate all forms of transport, public transport included, buses, taxis, and then, but when they do that, the Road Transport Corporation also still exists. So you can't get this institutional rivalry. But one other thing will happen, when it comes to infrastructure, we come to the road network. If you remember, we get PWD, Public Works Department. When they repair roads, them. Not only that, they get wide responsibility. Almost people know say PWD now then build Bank of Sierra Leone. Now then build some building at my school, Prince of Wales School. They build bridges. We don't need Chinese for do all that construction. In fact, the first engineer in Salone, we work in a PWD, is an engineer called Waddy Williams in the 1950s. Right? Some bridges them were there, like Juba Bridge. It was constructed with Sierra Leonean expertise. So we moved from PWD to Sierra Leone Roads Authority. So we lost that capacity there for maintaining we roads them. Now roads then get for run. So that is when the crisis started. Because we're not able to continue for maintain we road now. We bring too much bureaucracy into road construction. Then what happened? We see the emergence of a new form of transport. We're in Okada. But then people that we don't know what's in Okada. Okada na a two-wheel transport. So before I go to the post-war era, Okada era, we talk how that crisis they come, because waiting the war bring, it bring massive population shift from the provinces to Freetown, Western region. So a city which was meant for 250,000 people, overnight, plus the surrounding suburbs, Freetown rural and urban, shoot up to 1 million people. So let's hold on here, gather me thoughts, because I'm talking about this Okada era and see what's in the menace we bring. So we get a caller on the line.
Hello, caller. What you know your name? Where you call from?
Yes, Mr. Shyllon, I'm again for the Mustafa. Good evening, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Mustafa. Nice hearing your voice, as always.
Yes. You know, this where you go now for Boye College, where then they talk about the economic history of Sierra Leone. He did on any right they wide and stop the railway, then say effective means of transport then don't come, other effective means of transportation don't come. And luckily, the lecturer will lecture me. In America now, hey, don't go with the railway day. I don't know what he could think now. Because Mrs. and I have been get from Nanhead, see, when Motuka they come to now, Motuka being more efficient, make until I can Europe. What can Europe? I don't see the training far better past the Motuka. But inside we book them now for Boye College, which they are rigged today. Then say they close the railway because of other effective means of transportation don't come. That is what is written as the main reason why they close them. Say Martel Fambule, make we know say even now they really talk about this bridge. My proposal is if an investor they we go get money for up to $2 billion for investment bridge. We less than 10% of Sierra Leoneans go access that bridge there. If they know they use animal as a political tool, it better for let them go look for an investor where they get $2 billion for kind invest on the railroad. Because me, I don't see the railroad importance in Europe. Where even for transporting goods, bulky goods them. Good, fast, effective means of transportation na the railway. So if we want to develop the farmers them or the other people where they benefit from anything and they quickly let we spend that money on the railroad, because railroad is very important. Anybody will tell me against the scrap we own because of effective means of transport, that person will get problem. I will left on there. I want to thank you. I just want to add this.
Okay, very much, Mr. Mustafa. I don't know if Mr. Shyllon want comment, but because we get a lot to talk about, go don't go to the past, because one show waiting at the crisis now. You know, and waiting at the
as far as what Mr. Mustafa just said, I take it from what he does say, one can reach a conclusion that the reason that was given for elimination of the railroad was just not only wrong, it was false. Because the railroad was not substituted or was not replaced by better means of transportation. Because then, when they get rid of the railroad, the roads were still bad. We had a lot of board, what you call board. Then board reaches them upline, particularly the eastern province, you know, between Kenema and Hanga, Blama and Kenema, you know, Kenema and Boajibu, Kenema and Chongofield, and so on. And then they ferries them, short river ferries, where there were no bridges, like the Male Ferry, Manawa Ferry. So that was not only misleading, it was patently false. So this intellectual dishonesty is shameful. You know, and these are some of the things that we'll get for attuned for, because that was very misleading. And this leads me to the conclusion, like I always say, It is not enough to come to America or Britain or Canada or Australia. It's not enough to come abroad. Now you exposure abroad with the education where you don't get in the formal way like classroom, combine, and if you're lucky enough to gain employment while you are abroad, then you are very much equipped to go back home and then try for effect policy. Because let me tell you the difference. If you come abroad, you're not scholarship baby. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. But if you come abroad with scholarship, you are missing a whole lot of stuff other than getting an academic degree. From classroom to your hostel, from your hostel to classroom. Mostly now you exposure around it. Now, if you were employed, no matter in what capacity, while you were studying, you get a wider exposure because now you have workmates with differing views. You have workplace whereby you run into all kinds of people. If you work in a hospital, no matter where you work in a restaurant, you run into a variety of people. People who would just by your accent go say, "Where you from? You sound different." That strikes a conversation. But the scholarship boys them or babies them or ladies them, they don't get a privilege there because, nothing wrong with that. They did get the academic qualification. But they were missing because when they go back home for affect people and lives, for implement policies. So you can forget that human touch. You can forget that exchange there with you company human beings them. So a good many of the people that will go home with high degrees, they've never worked, not in life. They never had the privilege of being supervised by a work supervisor, or they've never had the privilege of having employment colleagues. But when they go home, they are given jobs to supervise for employ. And that's why a lot of them did not know what it means to manage a paycheck. Because if you're abroad, they're on scholarship, you get for work, you get for go class, then you see, you learn how to pay rent, how to pay your light bill, how to pay your gas bill. You're not going to look forward to that stipend the way they come every month. If you don't work, you don't get them. I'm just saying all of them get cumulative effect on we. But for just get the piece of paper, what we now will call diploma, the paper where they write your degree on. America, they have the same. The diploma is not what the paper is written on. Because now actual practical experience, you go, when they go give you then job here, you get for manage people, and you don't even know how to start from day one. And the other mistake we'll make, even if not your qualification that, if you're not selfish, you will hire people. Not like playing soccer. You may not be the best player as the captain, but you for be smart enough for get a good team by getting good players so when I can win a championship or do well. The thing where we lack, the man at the top doesn't want to be outdone by insubordinates them. He want the praise, and who say not get time, let the system suffer. So when you for the Mustafa say just now, this thing about why they eliminate the railroad, well, you listen to the video we just listened to, you find out for not the reason, and because they not give any sensible economic reason why. And we not even talk about the ordinary people. People over the people in up country where they pull potato, cassava, plantain, and all that kind of produce them cocoa, where them with the ship now the train by which they may be able to ship the train because the train line went through certain towns. We're not even talking about that part of the contribution. And not a free time they produce the cassava them, not a free time they produce the potato them, not a free time they produce the plantain them, not a free time they produce the banana them, not a free time they produce the orange them. These things were in abundance when the railroad be there. Now freedom, and I think as Mr. Mengot mentioned that, also even people in the western area, there were people who went to school in Freetown, who rode the train from Songo and many other places into town to go to various high schools and elementary schools and go back home in the evening. So the railroad it was unmatched. Now, Mr. Mengot, just give me 1 second. Let me say this. If they are talking about a railroad being implemented, let's be very careful, because what I have read, what I've seen, what they are talking about is a railroad not for passengers. Now, railroad where they get the deal going on, where for facilitate the exporting of the minerals, more so than for provide transportation for people. So if then they come up with this railroad act to within the talk about, I mean, again, these people should be fair. And let them tell us, because so far what we've read has nothing to do with railroad for people. It has everything to do with railroad for the minerals, and that is wrong, because it is not beneficial to the country. So again, Mr. Mengot, I'll stop right here because there are callers on the line and you get for talk. So let me take this call.
Let's
and
take
then
this call on the line. Let's take this caller because I want to go the next stage.
Yes, sir. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. My name now Alpha Say. I call from Anchorage, Alaska.
All right, Mr. Suse, thanks for calling back.
When I thank you, Mr. Shyllon, Mr. Mengot. When I thank you for a good work. I just listening to the topic. Yeah, Mr. Mengot just elaborate about, first saying, taxi, then I also call them, then go pick you up and stuff like that. It sounds like, say, the Uber app, I think that from there they learn for beginning to do the ride sharing company.
The concept, right? That's true.
Yeah, the concept. Exactly. Yeah. So now when they talk about railway, and most of the time when we travel, any advice where they can give you now, any travel app, where reach now any country, now for call Uber. Because a little bit more safe and also convenient. So is there any provision where the Sierra Leone authority don't do for bring Uber and Salone, so that way at least people then go able to download the app? Because I know say when Uber they can any country, then get for follow that country their policies. So is there any way we were able to bring Uber and Salone? I rest the case for today. When I thank you.
To you, Mr. Mengot. Thank you, Mr. Sise.
Thank you very much. I think say as you become 1 more hour, because now we don't go from the past. We come to the present, and I go answer your question when we reach to that side. Because now we want to show the crisis in public transport. So we start from, as I've been saying, we start from after, during the war years. We get one new form of public transport we come. Where a lot of people know about them, right? Now the motorcycle, commercial motorcycle, where some of, we don't get out long, not be Sabiam. Then call it Okada, right? And let me tell you now, who side the name Okada come from and how Okada come into the transport sector. Okada is a place in Midwest Nigeria, yeah, we start an airline when I be like a cheap airline where all man you run go, they buy you ticket, you don't know if you get a place. Now Okada come out. So when they get this motorcycle in Nigeria, we're cheap and everybody can use them, you don't get much control, now it makes sure they call that Okada. So the motorcycle kind of system during the war years. Plus it start now upline. Because 9 people they use for travel na bush road. Because all the road them be blocked. So now so Okada come. So we can get motorcycles them way become commercial. Now, who side the challenge come and the crisis? After the war, they get a program where they call DDR, disarmament, demobilization, and rehabilitation. So people let me think about what do you do with ex-combatant? Because remember them in take the gun then at the hand. You know, people let me go give them gun. Let me say first for train them. But as usual, in your area, transports now they all the bane of society thinking there. Because if you look at the transport sector where they talk about public transport, you get the touts them, you get the vulcanizer them, you get the mechanic. I know say Boko of in a guest story about mechanic in a salon. Mechanic not just like Tilaman. They're two different professions and but they know how for fuel people and the enjoyment. We get the mechanic them, we get so many people. So when they Okada canal, all of a sudden, we say that all over the provinces. And then they make noise say, government not give them work. So now, we don't get a system where you look at public transport. Instead of when you look at mass public transport, they could be get the railway and then big buses them. Now we get a small taxi them. We get Okada them. Then we get Kekehs. What's in a Kekehs? Kekehs na the tricycle. And how Kekehs come? Kekehs come because one time in there, the last government been banned Okada for going to the central business district. So people then begin use Kekehs. So now take the post-war years and now look at the transport crisis. What do you get public transport crisis? We take more of freedom. One reason, population shift. Rural-urban migration. We then plan and then okay. People then move from the provinces, then tap at the main area. For security and access to the small satellite planned and unplanned site. Because when you hear somebody been they talk about stations and upline, where they hear about Jamboria, Aja Fatmata, you know, some of those stations and they you get for leave. So that Waterloo axis, from Waterloo, Boye, Calbaton, Wellington, Kisi, you get a mass population settlement there. Then you go to the west now. You take from that Lumley area, going down Lumley Road by going to Babadori, you get places like Kuntolo, Kamayama, Pipeline. You go even to the hills, you get Imat, even Dwazak, you get Smiler Town. So we all them for camp. So we get a crisis of public transport. And that crisis of public transport, I think say for let fumble them on them when at the second part of the go so, let we controller play that video for show the challenge of public transport freedom. And then we can talk about which have been the solution where they get, starting with the previous government. So let we look at this, let people listen to this one and how transport important.
Freetown is a bustling and hustling capital. Everyone is always on the go. But with the recent increase in fuel pump price, boarding public transport has become a concern. Neither as there were no much commercial vehicles plying the routes of Freetown.
With the passenger there with a strain. With a strain bad one, you want come strong if you know 20,000, you know they will go say one go.
Passengers are suffering. We have to have a minimum of 20,000 Leone'S to come to town. With the increment in fuel pump price, things have worsened for us.
The big one, let them find what they do for we. We suffer too much.
Commercial motorcyclists have also joined the struggle.
Now, I charge 7 or 8,000 Leone'S from Dwazak to IPAM, for example. Before now, it was 5,000. Things are not easy for us.
Don't say no easy. Before now, boarding public transport was about being strong and physical. But now, only the deep-pocketed get to survive.
But USA government USA we just would pull the coin there for give people them. And now etc we go passenger there.
Government say passengers should pay 1,700 Leone'S per shuttle. But where do they expect us to get the coins? This situation has brought a major tussle between drivers and passengers.
If you had coin in a bank, may they release her.
Even my camera operator and I were not spared.
Ibrana 17, but
give me 4,000.
A shuttle from bus stop to Regent Road cost us 4,000 leones because there was no coin to be given us as change. A commercial tricyclist, Brahma Kamara, also expressed concern that it would be best if the number of passengers in tricycles were increased from 2 to 3. He believes that would ease the burden on transportation. But there is another major concern: coronavirus.
Pushing aside the obvious bureaucracy surrounding this whole scenario, the harsh reality is that there is huge transportation inaccessibility in Freetown. There are endless passenger queues across major bus parks in Freetown. But with coronavirus still peeping and snooping around, the inaccessibility of cash in the market, and of course the bizarre, or should I say strange, hike in transportation fares across the country, at this point moving forward, things could only get worse. Reporting for the SLBC, I am Victor Jones.
Well, family, thank you very much. For putting in perspective, this video, it was taken 5 years ago during the coronavirus in 2020. And for me, analysis as a transport man, the issue the way people let me talk about, one, there is not enough transport. Two, the pricing formula. Because they make sure say that the price with transport, where they change the clever Bank of Salone governor, that man where they talk say now, they for pay in dollars. The man can redominate with currency, they bring coins them. But they will not see coins. And our government, they set price. Then the other thing, now the Ministry of Transport, now they set fares. And how do they do them? Anytime where petrol go up, then they increase the fare. Similarly, if it can't do, then go take long. So now government now they control the fare, then government now for regulate. You see, say we not get better regulation. They'll get a lot of challenges in terms of the people them, where even for join the public transport, now trust in bone, it can't sign. So what you want to do before I go now for can do the analysis. I don't know if Mr. Shyllon want comment on this video, but what I want to show you now for taking it through, now for take the past two governments and see what they try for do, and point out their own mistake where they make. And they talk about the EBK government itself try for address this issue, and the BO government also come for address the issue. And let's see how this thing they happen and why we not get a right state today. So over to you now before I come now to look at this approach.
Yes, sir. Well, for me, basically, for me,
continue the trend.
Okay. For me, I think basically the reason why the trend, well, in fact, the trend only continues, is worsening. The trend gets worse. Because that video the way we just showed so now 5 years ago. Now the commotion, now bus stops, now then transportation line, then they or even worse now than what you will see soon at this video. People are still struggling, despite the fact that since that video they was put out, we don't get the worker fine buses, then we don't come. At least still about 42 of them are in circulation at the western area. Still, things are just as bad as that video they show it, you know. So then, of course, I think the economic trend too, even though it be COVID time, but I think the economic trend also continues in terms of when fuel go up, fear go up. You know, when every time fuel go up, the government need to get a handle on that, for stabilize the raising or rising of transportation fare in the country, because fuel will definitely fluctuate. There will be time when fuel will go up, and there will be time when fuel will go down. It happens almost in every economy. But we cannot pass that burden day to the ordinary people then, where they will sit and get steady income. We get for scratch and scrape for get money, like what I woman say, then they suffer, then get for pay so much. And what she said then, 5 years ago, it's costing them more now because fuel has gone up many times. So again, government need to get a handle on that. So Mr. Mengot will give you a perspective of how things have changed from the Unmasking Kuruma government to the present Madabio government, but how it seems to me, and I mean characterization, I know Mr. Mengot who's going to be saying something after me, how things have gotten worse, not better. Now, there are some people who will argue, well, the government do a lot of good things, but that's not the point. The point is we still have to address things that are not being done for the people. And if the government do a lot of things, that's why we have government. Now that make them elect government. So people shouldn't be coming, people like me, not for the kind of media, and begin and speak in praise of government. Because this is what the government them volunteer for do. And certain things they will not do, will for highlights them, what some people will call criticism. But not every time when you point out some shortcomings of the government, you are criticizing, you're just calling their attention, just in case they've overlooked certain things that must have been, that should have been taken into account. That's all it is. So sometimes the concept, because I don't see some minister, then when they appear in AOID and other things, then as soon as you say something critical about the government, the first question is, why you not talk the positive thing the government to do? Well, I don't think that's what the media is for, to talk about the positives. And that now the other side of society get to deal with that. But the media, the primary focus should be what government should be doing that they are not doing. That's how we make society better. Because if we all sit on sing the praise of a government, there will never be progress. Because when things go lacking, we say, oh, well, one thing go lacking, three things are fine. So forget about that one thing, the way not being addressed. Not to the logical way down for doing. So me the urge some of the people who are quick to jump in defense of government, whether it be Unmasking Kuruma or the BO government. Any critical statement about these governments is not necessarily an indictment against them. It's a call to attention of maybe some necessary things that are being overlooked that should be taken care of. So let me go back to Mr. Mengot.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So now from that video there, Fambulem, we see the three main source of transport then. You get the Poda them, you get the Kekehs, when at the three-wheeler, you get the Okada. So we get all the mixture of transport. Now we don't get now in a Salone. But they say government na continuity. We get for land from the past. And I think say this government try for land from the past, but then get it wrong. And what I mean by the past, then take over from an Unmasking Kuruma government will last for 11 years, and then self attempts for improved public transport, that's Salone. And when I say they attempt for improved public transport, what you can look at, we look at the supply side. Now for bring the public transport come, the buses. Government still line they bring bus. We remember if you look at the share of the market, government only they provide 10% of the public transport, the 90% na the private sector. So within that 90%, there is a mixture of poda taxi, Kekehs, and Okada. Then we have a situation where government is still the regulator and the operator. So now look at the different transport the way the Anescoma government been bring come. First, I think say they bring these Tata buses from India. If they can show you the Tata buses then for India. These are one of the buses the way they bring. If we control, I can show you that. But this one will show not to the then bus here, now the one the way they pull from China. And if you remember, say them bus here where they buy from China, they not even last up to 10 years. Because as a transport expert, I will tell you, say, when you buy a bus, you get to look at management, maintenance, and you get to look at depreciation and amortization. You get to set aside money for replace them. So if you can see them bus here, now the bus they would have been buying at China, under the last government, they were red buses. Right? They don't even last for more than 5 years. You see, they're Kekehs now. So what are we doing? We are procuring buses. This is not the Tata bus, the way not the other bus, the way they buy. So you see, you get bus from China, you get bus from Tata and from India. So then they source out the bus, then differentiate them. So what you will not look at, we not look at how to standardize the procurement of the bus system, how to manage that system there, and what you get for do about that. So there was a lot of complaint. So what happened? Come the President Boye era. Now, President Boye coming, he talked to World Bank, then give me 50 million US dollars grant under a project we call IRUMP, Integrated Resilient Urban Mobility Project. Now, when they do that thing, they say, "Look, we restructure with public transport." So these are the buses the way they buy on the IRUMP, where we all know as Wakafine buses. But as we see, there are buses here don't take only one year. We go show you a video of how they operate now, some of the challenges them. But now look at this IRUMP project, waiting we try for do. Because what people they complain about. First, you complain about regulation. Waiting a regulation, we get Road Transport Corporation. We have been both an operator and a regulator. So these are the Wakafine buses you go see. But when you operate bus system, one, you get forget the regulator. Two, you get forget a proper management company. Three, you get forget maintenance company. Four, you get forget proper road network. And five, you get forget the support facilities. What do I mean by support facilities? The bus stops, the bus terminal, and all that thing in there. So what went wrong? Look at it now. So government go parliament, then go pass an act, then create a new authority where they call the Salone Public Transport Authority. When I say that authority there, now in for regulate transport. Because they create the authority there, then close Road Transport Corporation. So government not get no business for one bus system. So as part of the World Bank project, they say, okay, World Bank say, then go give me 50 buses then. Then 50 buses then put and strictly say, now the private sector for runner. And where would they do the research? It's sad for say, as you say, Mr. Shyllon, in that whole country, they will don't get years of public transport operation. There is not a single professional public transport operator in the country. The big one that we get We get Milan Transport, we na Leone'S. They not be even they run 10 bus fleets. We get Abbas buses. We run and they most in the upline and they go. Then Sierra Stars been come. Sierra Stars can less than 2 years ago with a fleet all long collapse. So everything had to be created from scratch. And government say the people them where they na the sector and they for own shares in that company they. But what's happy now? The authority where they set for regulate public transport, nine are the problem because then go back to the old system where government own the bus system and also then I referee so the system collapsed. So we they can't show video them, not to miss or prove what are they try for talk. Now, let me show the video of the central bus station. When are they at the headquarters of this Shyllon Public Transport Authority. Let me fumble and see them in this modern day. Right? And this is now all part of the support system. So let's show the central bus station.
Then, now the national bus station, central bus station. Now Freetown. Now in this, when I see the surrounding, when I see how the building is from 1898, how the colonial masters there left her with the window there. I don't see the garbage, when I don't see the dirty, you can barely see human physics. I don't see. And this is where people comes to wait for the Wakafai and other buses, government buses that goes to the provincial region. You don't see the smell where they come out now bearing ground, where they don't open grave. How the decomposed body they smell. I don't see. Is this fair? And this is very closer to the mayor's office. We have the responsibility that one day, together with Ministry of Health. And I don't see the Minister of Transport been there on air quite recently say, "You know aware." I say, I don't see me family there. I don't see. And I can see. So with my man, Papa. Citizens, then they can't wait for the Wakafine bus. Have you seen? No, sir. I don't see. This is the nature of the. I will not do that. This is the nature of the central business.
Okay, this is not the first one. I will show them in sequence. This video where family see now that central bus station when I be the central railway station. When at headquarters of this Shyllon Public Transport Authority, where they regulate the bus system and public transport. So now they own back, now they own front place this. So if you see them, that for show you. The next video I will show, when we plan this Wakafine bus system, so timetable, we even put bus stops them on the way. But because we don't get enough bus system, and even the one they will bring come, then some of them don't begin go out of service. So the bus they now, instead of them they get multiple stop, by the time they left, if the eastern from Calbaton, they cannot full for Camp Freetown, the central Freetown. The same with Lumley. So let's show Fambul and the bus stop they now. When I then bus stop then did them for use, waiting and they use them for. So this now the bus stop them. And if you zoom into that picture there, you go see say the bus stop who say people left for wait. Now they don't turn kukri buffer. Now kukri then they sell it. Right? So number one, despite all the money then they will then give it, the central bus station they don't do nothing. It's still dirty, it's still filthy. Now they the SLPTA, the office there. The bus stop there along the way, nine and used for kukri buffer, they're no longer useful. You now go to the third part. if they show it how the bus, then the new buses, the way they bring out in the struggle for operate because of bad road network. So let them show you that let them show you the next video.
Now we take a look at how the bus they come. Just see how the bus they come. You see how? Now this have you see what's at the top. You see how? Now this have you see how? Just watch. You see how the bus is training. You see how high the train where they go. See now this back as they get into SLRA for communicate to them now. But make them make sure they can try for do no more. Yeah, I just call. I had a video for them. Now I just a video for them. You see, as I talk to you, you see other people themselves to stay. These are just short video of what I say, make I send out for you. This about talk to SLRA, they will can't speed up for can't do this station to the event. I see other people there. Okay, sir.
So this third video, the area, now one area where they call Boye, right? Not so Boye, no na Kintomo. Now around Boye down by the main by Boye road towards the ending for Cam to Upgun. So you can see 3 things are pointed out. Despite then give we 50 million for sort out. Number 1, you see the headquarters of the bus station. Where the authority where they in charge, when are the regulator. You see how their own place where they did their host. How it done. Number 2, you see the bus stop then where they put there. Because they're not useful yet again, because of all the bus and the operate, they don't turn cookery buffer. Then number 3, you see the road network. So, despite all the money and waiting the happen, now this we don't get. So, as I can say, it don't worsen than what it was before. So before I comment further, let I give chance to my colleague, Mr. Shyllon. Let himself rub mouth and he can ask me questions because I was part of it and I'm still part of it. Then we will end up by saying waiting at the solution. Waiting for do, not for just criticize. Right? Where did we get it wrong? And Lord point that out to government. And if you now have a suggestion, fumble them, you open to you. Over to you, Mr. Shyllon.
Okay, Mr. Mengot, all I have maybe 1 or 2 questions. Because there's plenty to condemn or criticize. Now, where did they go wrong in terms of implementation of policies that will have rendered the operation of them buses here well run? So where did they go wrong? Because, for example, we get bus station, if people in the cell cookery then they, even the person who sell cooking at the bus station, no say, that place wasn't set up for that. So, based upon what you made to see, it seems like we get enforcement problem. Because if normal people are the same worldwide, you go build a bus station, or people then will take a chance, then we can't sell it, then we can't sell orange, then we can't sell cookery. Now the government then duty for make sure say it becomes a misdemeanor, it becomes a crime, where you use a public location, such as a bus station, or get statute or ordinances then for prohibit that specifically. For say, no commercial activities should be conducted there. And if you do, you can be cited for breaking the law, for which you will be fined. Because otherwise, if you just go, you put a bus station, then you get people in, or take them over, make a private domain, then you've already defeated the purpose for which, because all these things are connected. It's like a chain. If you not set up waiting for make the roads then right, make the bus station then accessible to potential passengers, if you and create a staff for maintain the buses then so they go be in running condition, any one of those things in there, as soon as they go down, it will affect the other aspect of running the bus system efficiently. So tell me, because there you say they even start to operate the bus them without even trying to form a board that was operational. The bus then start running when the board, when a part of the foundational structure was not even had not been created. Let me put it that way. So my question to you is, what can be done for eliminate, because then so you can't minimize them. You therefore get rid of them for let the system run well. From fixing of the streets or the roads to the timely running of the buses, maintaining the condition of the buses. So where did we go wrong and what can be done?
Okay, I will answer your question. Now, 4 key areas. I will deal with them one by one. The first part where we got it wrong was, remember, I've been on talk say, when we began Road Transport Corporation, they were both a regulator and an operator. So in other words, government been they regulate, then they been they operate buses in competition with the private sector. So one of the conditions where they been say will say for reform, now for say, okay, government not for run buses at all. Let them create a regulatory body when at the Salone Public Transport Authority. So once that authority they in place, then the Road Transport Corporation will cease to exist. So even the Road Transport Corporation buses, the way they get, they forget to the private sector. So what happened? That authority they will then create in April 2023, just before the last election. Then did it follow the steps waiting then at the law? Because the act say, number one, the authority can forget a director general who is approved. Okay, let me read this for. None of the above regulations are available. They only exist on paper, and certain middlemen are in charge, which tells you all you need to know about this lack of proper regulation. Fine. So what happen? What in the law say? Law talk about the law. And I can tell people, they fumble them, and I go check. You get the reference now, Salone Public Transport Authority Act 2023. It say number one, the act say you can forget a director general. That director general there should be appointed by the president under the recommendation of the Minister of Transport and approval of Parliament. So what happened? The same people that were when they manage the Road Transport Corporation with the non-scrap, now they then transfer for run the Public Transport Authority without any due process. So Parliament of themselves will create the authority there, not see that the authority get the people that way for run them in accordance with what the law say. Because it talk about the qualification and experience of the person for any authority, the authority get forget a board with a supervisor. So the board get forget a board chairman who is also appointed by the president on the recommendation of the minister and approved by Parliament. So you get a board chairman. The authority start in 2023. Then the board chairman in April, the board chairman was appointed in 2024, December. So the authority don't go all the time supervised. The people that were they run the authority they were not properly recruited as the law say. Then there is no board. Who then for being a board day? Right. You get people that way they get for appoint. One, you get for get somebody where they represent the motor drivers union, who should also be appointed by the president, approved by parliament. That has not been done. You get somebody where they represent Kekehs union. Kekehs and then tricycle. That again, they not get represented. That has not been done. Then the president also get for appoint 2 women then, according to the gender parity. 2 women then with experience. So that has not been done. So the supervisory body, when at the SLPTA, when at the headquarters, we will show where that dirty is non-functional. So you know get, so the people that wait for regulate, now they're in charge, according to the law. But let me tell you what happened. If you imagine that law there was made in 2023, April, then in 2024, then go repeal them. Because law say you get to separate the operator from the regulator. So what you can do, then go change them, get a new act where say an operator can either be government or private, which means we go back to the old system where the regulator now becomes an operator. Then they also give them other powers, right? For manage the terminal facilities, the bus stop. So the one where they regulate, you get operational powers, you get powers for management, completely. So that is where the problem is. So that's the regulatory part. Next, let me go to the operational side. Remember, I've been telling us, say, we're not been getting no company we're capable of running the bus system. So they created that company there by scratch when at the Metro Transport Company. The people that wait for own shares in that company, they won when at the Poda, the bus owners, the drivers union, the bus owners, the Kekehs and the Okada. Remember, I said these people, they are such a loose group, they're not ever. Then you go begin tell them for buy shares, for raise a capital of 150,000. That didn't work. So for it to operate, other people and get for coming without the same interest as them people in there. Then we talk about institutional coordination. Because when you talk about enforcement, you get the police, you get the Salone Road Safety Authority, you get City Council Authority. City Council responsible for parking. Police and Road Safety Authority, they're responsible for standards. And as of now, no standards not there, nobody not they regulate. But then when they plan, I go look for there we team put on waiting in plan, very good plan, which that authority there for look, which has never taken place. So let us show you the map, what will be designed. So if you look at this map here now, this is now the public transport map. We show all the routes then, right? If we look at the legend, if we control like a highlight and for we will show you the routes them, and I will tell that process which has not taken place. Okay, now if you look at it, this is not the formalized network. Not so being come out from an informal system to a formal system. So we take the Western Corridor because the Wakafine, then they operate from the Western Corridor, when like from Kalbatong, say Kansai Central Bus District. Then the Eastern Corridor now from Lumley, Kekehs, but you can forget complementary services them. So if you look at the way we label them, you can get the routes from Lidi, Ogufam to CBD, number 2 River to Lumley, Aberdeen to the CBD, Moritong to the CBD. These are all complementary routes them way for fit into the Wakafine bus routes. So you get not to one grade routes they operate. And would have been for do this? And the Public Transport Authority. That has not been done. Then the eastern, you get Lumley to CBD. Lumley to CBD. Then a part of the eastern, you connect. But now west, they come out. Then you get Farm to CBD. Then the western routes then. So you show the corridor. So that top there, na typographical corridor. So waiting the public transport or do now for plan the route network. Running, now for give operator license, now for know who say Okada they run, who say Kekehs they run, who say Pura they run, and get an integrated system. That has never been done. All the focus now that one route day. And that route day where we can find the run 500,000 people every month. So initially we will only get 50 buses, and for later routes they be effective, you get to get an additional 100 buses. And now the bus them within 1 year, 20% of them buses then grounded. So everything don't collapse back. There's not enough buses, there's no regulation, there's no authority, and it's back to business as usual. So these are the problems. And waiting for the parliament, when I then give and approve that act, they get for call all the players and come. Let them see why waiting them in the powers, the way they give the authority, why they not exercise them powers in there. Then also you get for look at the operators of the routes, right? How come you get an authority where you don't operate for 2 years, you don't get a supervisory board? So there's institutional lapses. There's also unprofessionalism in operating it. Then we get lack of capacity and professionalism for people and for run public transport. Because they run and good, there are people even from the diaspora who are willing to invest. Why always would they go look to development partners there for kangaroo money for buy buses there? If you plan the system, if you go to the other country, they want to work. In West Africa, in East Africa, once you get a good planning system, the citizens themselves, they operate buses, they come in. So last stop here, we'll get somebody on the line, then I will left you now, let you come back, because we don't get to the end of the program, but we still get time. Now listen to one caller, and then you can come up with you further probing.
Hello, caller. What's my name? Where you call from?
Yes, Shyllon, me again. After I don't listen to Mr. Mengot's submission about the problems of the bus system, it come back to what we know about we country. Because we appoint them, the people that really run a company or area. Why again, this when I knew something, why them put the presidency name for appoint people in there? We don't know it by now, see now. Now that political appointment, any kind of the problem for less thing, they no work.
Mm-hmm.
Now something they make 2023, they go talk to pass the president go appoint. And now if you go appoint the appointed people, we not to qualified people them. They go the appointed people, we not party people them. Like Abu Aberi in him. Abu not even pass from 5. Let's alone you get gonna post what personally.
Well, he's the board chairman if you care for. He's the board chairman.
Yes, because that the law them don't talk see the board chairman for get experience and this and that. And then because they put up on the president in hate for appoint, he go appoint Abu Abu. Abu does not know anything. As a PM, well. So now look at the status of the company. Now you don't come back. Who say no Salone see anything they start glorious in a very just a few years it go don't collapse. This is just about 1 year. Now this don't happen so. And I be ready to tell them they launch this project here. One minister goes on a radio democracy talk say he get going to London. He get for be like London where they don't have bus stop. The bus stop he watch the board. We say the bus the guy go say I take 5 minutes and the bus go there and the bus come. That's what they talk. Now, because I remind people again, they say this thing are 50 million. The buses then will cost 7.5 million. So Lois, that means now all the for gonna 6.9 million the cost. For take them off the Otaki now, everything now costs that 7.5. I always tell people and say, where is the 42 and a half? Because so
Okay,
I
hold
give you
on.
money, they give you big money.
Mr. Fode, I'll tell you say the
Just
42 and a half go. Hold on, before you go, I'll tell you say the 42 and a half go. You go better let you understand. The 42 and a half now ain't go pan the overhead bridge there where you see them put. Now ain't go pan the no, you have to know. Now ain't go pan the overhead bridge there where them put. Now ain't go pan the traffic lights there where them put. Now ain't go pan that road there where I show you so where the bus when they operate. Now part of the roadway them for maintain all that and ain't go pan anything and they. So all the infrastructure, then also the terminal alumni where you see. Now then the rest of the money go. Then plus what you go say institutional support and capacity building. That is where the 42.5 million go.
Okay, Mr. Mengot, I appreciate that you try for it, but I wish me at the laugh. You said over every bridge, and if you give all in the way, you don't go amount to the 42 million. Because in a way, you don't call to all. Because normally the bus for be more expensive than all of those things. Because the bridge, where the overhead bridge, now something and go take no more, a stand somewhere and come with them. Not two, I think they make out with.
No, there's 4. I can tell you side and day. You get Nalomli, right? You get Jue Junction.
Nashel.
You get Upgun Turntable. Then you get Wilberforce.
No, you think the one of them stand and they will reach even 1 million? Mr. Mengo, the money enough say the money come na the country. That's what IMF always do with World Bank. Then they can't program them. Now they go don't pay them to the people away they come. I mean, feasibility studies them. The one where they come appoint for make the preliminary stages of the things them. Then take the money all and pay them people and the money cap.
Let me make it clear for you, because I know about it because I was part of it. The way when they operate them project, then they World Bank they get then they agree with the Salone government certain deliverables, and outside the problem they come now during the procurement process. So it's the procurement and the supervisory process now they the problem they, right? They know they give them the bulk money. It's a budgeted amount, and some of them can get cost overrun, and they cause the problem. And remember saying that the same money they use for pay the project management team and all that thing and they. So you can see, right? So that is where the problem
I just a question: the quantum of money we left because we put them proportionally with the bosses them. It's not a match. So no matter what you try for, tell me now, me go make question about the 42.5 million when a huge amount compared to the one they wouldn't use the money wouldn't use for buy the bosses. Because from the one I don't get any interest over this money when they don't call 45 million, for 50 million, and but me everybody cost and
sorry to interrupt you. What I'll suggest next time for the continuous program, I can give you a link because it's open where you can able look and see which question the different thing that we then pay for and see whether we have value for money. It's all there.
Okay, sir. Okay, no, then put the cost there of going to talk now. Maybe
put the cost for every item there.
Okay, thank you for that. Because time knowledge.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, boss.
Mr. Shyllon, it's up to you now, sir.
Yes.
Because I don't know if I do justice to the question. And if you support because we're almost at the end.
The other question I want to ask, because I think we probably would not show the video of the overhead bridge. but maybe we're not sure, but something tells me we're not sure. Then some, because I think the presenter, they complain about the people that they are non-compliant, that the overhead bridge day for facilitate movement among the people them and for ensure safety, but that people are ignoring the overhead bridge and they are still walking across the highway and so on and so forth. All right. My question to you, as an engineer with a lot of experience, I just want to ask from a layman's standpoint, what I saw of the overhead bridge concerned me. One, it looked too high, too many stairs or steps to climb. Knowing with people then the total load the head, then the hold the hand. It's not easy for climb 20 or more flights of steps for just public safety for crossing a street. I raised question about the necessity of the bridge itself, because I've been to other countries in Europe, England, France. Couldn't the same thing had been accomplished without an overhead bridge by just enforcing the traffic signal? That, because I think me and you talk one day, we talk about jaywalking. Enforcing the traffic signal, no matter how many people are standing to wait for the light to change, they should stand by until the light changes and give them the indication, say walk. When the thing say walk, like 100 people then go cross. Now, if people get into the habit of jaywalking, meaning then go just the cross where traffic they come, thereby heightening the possibility or the likelihood of somebody being struck by a vehicle. This is where enforcement come in, because you can give people them tickets or citation for jaywalking. So I question the necessity of and the efficiency of the overhead bridge, because I think you can accomplish the same thing. And you can disagree with me, because from a layman's standpoint, I look based upon which me does see abroad. But I think, in fact, it will have been more efficient by just putting a stoplight where control both human movement and traffic movement, and just make sure, say, there are law enforcement officers present at their major intersections at all times for enforce the rules. Don't forget, if you remember, I think, Mr. Mengot, you were old enough, because we're all kids way back then, where then we get this, what we call the zebra crossing, the white line there, for people and for cross the street. And in the 50s, I remember there was a magistrate called Kandapa, for whom or after whom there was a song about Kandapa, Bivote, where then come up with this song, say, God go pay you, this kind of thing, because Kandapa, they punish people in way, they comply, but now be mostly for drivers then. And say when people in the cross, the drivers then should stop. Well, now with stoplight regulation being more sophisticated, it also should equally apply to people then, particularly in a congested intersection, when you for wait until the light give you an indication that pedestrians then for cross. And then you cross. Now, if you start crossing when there is no such thing, I think in terms of enforcement, in terms of efficiency, and in terms of regulatory compliance, I would think those intersections should be highly monitored, and that to me will be much better, because I cannot see if I took one back rest on my head, I get for climb 20 stairs of steps. I go rather take a chance crossing the road, because that's a lot of burden, physical hardship on me. Now, having made all that statement, I want you to tell me that it doesn't make any sense, engineering sense, or maybe that's a good alternative. I don't know.
No, it makes sense. And let me tell you, I'm talking now from my engineering background and from my experience. So for the listeners, the way they listen, I want to tell them, say, when they talk, I know they talk because they're there, I recently go to Sierra Leone in April. Let's show you one area where you know very well. Remember, I said the first overhead bridge where they get one in that Lumley area towards Regent Road Lumley. You know Regent Road Lumley? Who side that church?
Yes.
Make sure they go Juba Bridge. Then get an
Yes.
overhead bridge there. Yeah? I agree totally with you. You question about the design, right? In terms of accessibility, even wheelchair access. But then in that same area, they allow tell you who side and get a right. If you come up towards the Lumley police station, you know that Lumley police station?
Yeah, exactly, I know. Just at the
There's a
intersection
roundabout
of Spur Road, around Spur Road.
Spur Road, Wilkinson
Junction.
Road, going down to
That's
Lumley.
right.
When
Yeah.
you talk so happen because I use them. We get pedestrian control, we get pedestrian system, where you the pedestrian, the wait, it give you time for cross. It is working well in that Lumley, just the same area. So in my own view, the amount of money spent on those overhead bridge could have been used to do a complete traffic signalization where you get
I agree.
all over the major junction there. And not only that, you get for do junction redesign. So you not just you can put overhead bridge. I think from my own road safety engineering perspective, those overhead bridge were not fit for purpose. That is my view. That could be challenged. Where you see there's a pedestrian control, a traffic light which gives way to vehicle as well as pedestrian, at that particular location where I tell you, I used it and it very well and I was impressed.
And that's
So
just a stone's throw. That's just a stone's throw from the overhead bridge just further down the road. That is so?
Yeah. Yes. So people who live in Freetown can go there and check for themselves. So when we're doing these things, those overhead bridges, because now this government first bring overhead bridge. But when you look at traffic solution, you have to look at the design of the roundabout, you have to look at pedestrian movement, traffic flow, pavement design. So there are so many things you take into consideration before you look at a system for make safety of passengers and vehicles. So, Fambulem, Mr. Shyllon, we bang on 2 hours, 4 minutes left. It's up to you now. You can get the last word before I say goodbye. But we're not done yet.
Okay,
Go ahead, sir. No, go ahead.
No, I just want to make a quick comment again on the overhead bridge vis-a-vis that of the traffic signal, where I want to know if it makes sense, because sometimes it's about time we combine professional sense with common sense. Because this overhead bridge, what we talk about now the Western world, what we did, what we don't see overhead bridge, what me experience in America, na me area of America. America is much too huge for me for just speak for, of everything in America. But what you mean know, overhead bridge or bridges are usually not only for pedestrians, but for then cross over highway or beltway, more so than in the city intersection. Because if you go Switzerland, if you go France, if you go England, most of our bridges, now like where you get a major highway that runs through the town or the city, the bridges are there so people can cross over those things, because the highways, there are no traffic lights, it's just continuous movement of traffic. So facilitate the movement of people on one side of the town to the other side, then put overhead bridges. So there is not for even create any risk of people being struck by a vehicle. But now we talk about overhead bridges in towns and cities, where I don't think that the same purpose we use an IR for most of the time. Most of the time, we use them when you get a highway, NIA, or you get a major highway or a beltway that has no stoplights, and traffic, the movement of traffic, it's continuous, and then they put them, so we do not get, there is no stoplight for correct. So we can do that also, but we don't have beltways. We don't have the kind of traffic we may talk about now. Freetown, I can't think of anywhere where you get continuous flow, non-stop flow of traffic, where now we get beltways.
Talking about that, sir, the only place where I would say you justify, I'm giving a description where the overhead bridge would then put it justifiable, but even that in the flat, but it's not properly designed. To a junction then at the Wellington Massacre Highway, so you get vehicle there where they travel over 50 kilometers per hour, but inside and the way they put their overhead bridge, and the average speed is not more than 30 kilometers per hour. So you get to look at the road design, the speed of the vehicles, the possibility of fatalities. So you bang on it. So I don't take you lawyer job, so no can take me engineering job.
Everybody stay in the lane. You're quite right.
Yeah. Although overtaking is allowed. Somebody put one last comment. I want to respond to that, and that they will be my last for say goodbye. There's somebody who comment say employing experienced people does not come cheap anywhere nowadays. Yes. But let me shock people then. Right? Because I believe in statistics. Let me take them work and find bosses here. Right? They transport on average a month. This is not up to the 50. They don't one day run 50. I can tell you, say they transport on average a month 500,000 people between the west and the east route. At 10 leons per passenger, from my calculation, those buses make $200,000 every month. Operational costs should be about $50,000 per month. So you're talking about there's enough money to save $100,000 a month for them buses in there. Where if you take 12 months, now 1.2 million, which means you can able buy more buses.
Precisely.
Yeah, but what's happening? It has been hijacked by the regulator. Now then they control the money. Because we cancel or we use cashless payment, they can bring ticket system. Now they the cuckoo jumbo come inside. Yeah,
exactly.
But as we get one new word now in lexicon, where I remember my good friend Mr. Parental in a parliament, he talk about political mapridi. You know, be tell waiting on mapridi. But me go tell you say for me, this Wakafine business and the money, na economic mapridi. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks. Also, with problem, how many people know that every vehicle in town, whether it be Kekehs or Okada, you get 1,000 every month, every year, circulation fee. Think about what we will do with that money if they use that money there for improve traffic and improve the road. So we can able to generate enough revenue for pay experienced staff, for repair the road, for get proper traffic system. If we employ the right people, we pay them well. Politics away from essential services. The country in Africa we don't get a right. Where I work. Go Senegal, go Rwanda, go Kenya. When it comes to those things, not so as it pleases one man. Now when it pleases somebody, now they cause the problem. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy me on this program. And I go let for say, I go give a reference back, Salone Public Transport Authority Act 2003, and then you get the amendment in 2000. 2023, then you get the amendment in 2024 and say, until we get the system good and get the right people in the right place and Parliament do a role, the crisis will continue, especially during the rainy season. We get crisis of access to public transport. We get crisis to school transport. Recently, we get a fatal accident we involved with one of the band leaders in a convent school we died in an Okada accident. Every time we lament for them till and day. But if we not do what is right, I'm afraid the public transport crisis will continue. So until we meet next time, I go handing it over to my co-host, Mr. Shyllon, for letting say the final goodbye. So it's goodbye from you all.
Thank you, Mr. Mengot. Thank you to our listeners then. It's always a pleasure for let we come and raise issues. We go probably excite people, then thought process, and hopefully grasp the genuineness of representation and the ability of we for make amends or make changes for the betterment of a country. Some of them things are now basic suggestions them, some of which we had. Now because, like I want to say, American Monkey say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It means if it's not broken, don't fix it. So, but where would it change from Road Transport Corporation to Sierra Leone Public Transport Authority just by name, not by functions? And then would it create conflicting responsibilities from road transport being a regulatory board and ownership board or operators board to having both functions, being an operator and a regulator, and then when you split them up for just absorb more people for political expediency, when I go right back, when I make the responsibilities and functions overlapping, so there's a whole lot to be said. But I'm always happy and glad for Leona listen. And this not to pointing fingers at any, this is all good for the, if you're not SLPTA, if you're not APCO, if you're not sympathizer, if you're not, it affects we all. And even the one that where they empower, where they wait now, also for that they can cook them potato leaf, cassava leaf, no matter what. All this the impact you because you know go eat your food on time because somebody they work for bring the placage and the other things, then the ingredients then for cook the soup for you. It's been detained or delayed because of inadequacy of transport facilities. So because of that, let we look at as generally, it no matter which political party you did, this is not politics, this is what is good for we and we people. Some of who were to come to America, where to go under, who go like for a right public transit, public transportation, for to see what it looks like because it's quite an experience. But if I get for stand in line and wait for 2 hours, I'll have the bus work kind of full, I may just bypass that privilege there. So thank you so much, folks, for listening, for the wonderful contributions them we can make. And we strongly encourage you now, if we get ideas, because there are some common sense suggestions that people can make, please send them in, and I'm strongly encouraging with government officials them, some of whom have the opportunity to listen to a presentation. They are welcome to please disagree with us if they think we are misstating certain facts or we don't have a grasp of the purpose behind some regulations. But where they are in agreement, even if we not call and agree with we, let us see it by an action, by implementation of some of them suggestions there. Because it's good for the country and it make all look good. So that way you're not going to force somebody for praise the president. I mean, because the person go see him, he go feel him, he go enjoy him, And so these are some of the things we are just moving, because then if it does be something we will take for granted, not the tool for the wish anymore. It's way past, like electricity, will still the wish, continuous electricity. That is sad, because it shouldn't be. This is something we for us take for granted. That way you For every day, there is no question about whether there will be electricity. For every day, there is no question of whether there will be water. We want to reach that stage there. So these things will be taken for granted, not anything that you get to look forward to if it's available or not. So with all of that, good night. Please stay tuned. We're coming back next week. Hope you encourage others who have not been listening to us to please listen and participate either by calling in or by just sending in written comments, all of which are welcome. Until then, good night.